In this video, we'll be building our second brain on Notion from scratch using the PARA methodology. PARA is a system for digital organization developed by Tiago Forte, which stands for Projects, Areas, Resources, and Archives. In our template, we're enhancing this further by adding sections for tasks, notes, and folders, along with an automated alert system to keep you up to date with your tasks and projects. The template for this is linked in the description below as well, so feel free to check it out at the end of this video. We'll start by creating a structure for all of our main databases, which we can categorize into two parts. Notes, resources, and folders will be added under our knowledge base, and tasks, projects, and areas will be added under project management. First, we'll build the database for notes. We'll delete the tags property and add the necessary properties such as edited time, created time, a checkbox for starred items, and a status property for state to identify if a note is active or archived. Since we only need two states here, we'll set active as the default state and remove the not started option. Next, we'll change the database layout to a list for a cleaner look and display the properties we want visible. We'll also create a button to archive items from this view. We'll name this view Recent and add an appropriate icon. And using filters, we'll display only the active notes here, sorted by the most recently edited notes at the top. We can then duplicate this database to create a new view for our starred notes. Here, we'll again modify the visible properties and add a filter for the starred checkbox so that only the starred items are shown. Next, we'll build our database for resources in a similar manner. While most properties are the same, we'll add additional properties for resource type, links, and files. And like we did before, we'll now rename the database, sort the properties, and add filters to display active resources by their recency. And then we'll duplicate this database to create a view for our stored resources. Now we'll build a database for folders which can be used to organize your notes and resources. We'll delete the tags property and add relationship properties with both databases that we created earlier. We'll then display the database in a gallery view since we only need to see the folder names. We'll then go back to our notes and resources databases and create new views to display items within their respective folders. We'll change the database layout to board view and group the items by folders. And we'll repeat this process in the resources database as well. Once that is done, we'll create templates for each of the three databases. We can hide the properties that we don't need to view actively, add icons, and rearrange items to give this a clean look. And then we can make this new template as our default so that each time a new node is created, it has this layout. We'll repeat the same for the resource database as well. And then we'll do the same for folders. Here, we'll also add a view to display both notes and resources that are linked to the folder, so that these can be easily accessed by simply clicking on the folder. To create this, we'll simply create a database view, copy an existing layout, and add a filter to show only the items that are within the selected folder. We'll then repeat this for resources. If we want, we can also change the layout for any of these databases for a different view, such as a gallery view for notes to see note highlights without requiring you to open the note. Then we'll make this template the default for this database as well. This completes our knowledge base section. We'll now move on to project management, starting with our tasks database. We'll start by adding a due date to track when a task is due, then a state property and a status property to track progress. The state property will include a draft state as well for better task management. And since tasks are actionable, we'll also add a status property which will help track their progress. We can then create buttons to change the state of the task. We can also add a priority property that will help us identify the importance of each task. Then we can create sub-items to further break down tasks into subtasks for more granular management. And using the rollup property, we can calculate the subtask progress against the parent task. After adding edited and created timestamp properties, we'll add relationship properties with our nodes and resources databases to link them with individual tasks as well. We'll then rename this view to drafts and finalize the property visibilities for this view. We can then duplicate this to create a new view displaying active tasks. Here, to better segregate tasks, we'll create a formula to categorize tasks based on their due dates relative to today's date. This formula outputs one of three statuses for each task: overdue, due today, or upcoming. Once added, we'll group this database view by the due status formula we just created. And once due dates are added to tasks, they will automatically sort themselves into the appropriate section. We'll then finalize the view configurations and move on to creating a third view, that is our calendar view. This is great for viewing all of our weekly tasks in a single place. Next, we have our projects database. This functions similar to tasks. We'll start by adding the required properties. Here, instead of a due date, we'll label the date property as timeline since we'll use it to capture both start and end dates of our project. And then separately, we can also add a formula property for extracting the end date out of our timeline, which will be used in another formula that we'll add later on. After adding the buttons for publish and archive, we will add a relationship property to link tasks within a project. And then, using the rollup property, we'll calculate the progress of completed tasks within each project. We'll then add relationship properties with notes and resources as well to link them with individual projects. And then we'll finalize the property visibilities for this view as well. Then we'll duplicate this view for active projects where we'll group them by their statuses. After adjusting filters for the last two databases, we'll create our final calendar view in the form of a timeline for our projects. Next, we have our areas database. We'll delete the tags property and then we'll add a select property for area type. Unlike tasks and projects, areas don't need a status property since they're not directly actionable. And the state property here will not have a draft state as well. We'll then add a relationship property for projects and a rollup to calculate progress. Then we'll create relationships with notes and resources here as well. We can change the view of the area database to gallery and can also add images to these later on for better identification. Next, we'll go back to our project and task databases. We'll make the area property visible in projects. And the projects property visible in tasks. so that these can be interlinked from these databases as well. Then we'll create templates for all three databases under project management, starting with tasks. We can rearrange the properties as we wish and hide those that are not actively required. We'll then repeat this for projects. Here, we'll also create a database view for tasks, which will allow us to view all tasks within a project from the project database itself. And then finally, we'll repeat this in areas. Here, we'll create a similar database view, but for projects within an area. And that essentially wraps up all of our key databases. We'll now create a section for archives, which will display archived items from the above databases. To achieve this, we'll simply create database views for each and add a filter for the archive state. And to retrieve back information to our main databases, we'll also add a button for unarchiving items, which will change the state of an item from archive back to active. For tasks, we'll have a slightly different unarchiving flow since they have both draft and active states. Here, we'll provide options to move them back to either of these states using individual buttons. And additionally, since completed tasks automatically move into archives, we'll segregate archived and completed items here with the help of an archive status formula. We'll then repeat this process for projects and areas to complete all of our views. And then finally, we'll add filters to each view to display only the appropriate items. Now that this is complete, we'll move to the top part of the template to build shortcuts for easier accessibility, especially for mobile devices. We'll create buttons to add new notes, resources, tasks, and projects. Each button will create a new page in the appropriate database and open the new page for quick edits. We'll repeat this process for all buttons to complete our configuration. With the second brain now complete and all databases set, we could stop here and start using it immediately. However, to further enhance it, we'll build two additional dashboards. First, we'll build a Task Manager dashboard that will give us visibility to the most actionable items within our second brain. Since the most important tasks are those that are due today or overdue from previous days, we'll build a standalone view for these tasks specifically so that they can be addressed easily. And to enhance the user experience, we'll display these tasks by their statuses in a board view. allowing users to manage daily tasks simply by dragging and dropping them between statuses. We'll also create a formula for overdue status, which will allow us to differentiate between tasks due today and tasks which are overdue. Next, we'll replicate the database view for both draft tasks and draft projects within the same dashboard, allowing us easy addition of information to items in both, which were added quickly without full context. And then, to give this a clean look, we'll add this dashboard in a callout box. Now we'll move on to our final part of the template, that is the alerts dashboard. To create this, we'll start by creating a new database which we can name alerts. We'll start by listing down all the alert types and add the appropriate icons. And then we'll add relationship properties for both task and project databases to connect them with our alerts. The idea here is to count alerts using formulas from the task and project databases and roll them back here to display when any alert exists. So for our next step, we'll go to the task and project databases and create properties for each alert type using formulas. Once the formulas are added, we'll edit the database template and select all the appropriate alerts for the database, including the no alerts entry. This allows us to automatically tag each new database entry with the appropriate alert type so that they can be rolled back up into the alerts database. We'll then repeat the same process for our project's database as well. Once this is done, we'll return to the alerts database and add rollup properties for each alert type. For each rollup, we'll select the appropriate database and calculate the count of entries that are not empty. Next, we'll create a new formula for the alert count that will display the count of alerts in a single column using the rollup properties. We'll then create two more formula properties which will help us filter the appropriate alerts to display in our dashboard. The first one identifies if there are any alerts within our system. And the second property builds on this to identify which alert type is active and needs to be displayed on your dashboard. Once this is done, we'll edit individual alert pages to display actionable tasks and projects, allowing direct action by clicking on the alert itself. We'll clean up the properties by hiding them and create database views for each alert type, filtering them by the appropriate alert properties. We'll then repeat this for all alert types. Once complete, we'll finish our alerts database and give it a dashboard form using a callout box. We can create 2 columns within this. On the left side, we can add a welcome message, and on the right side, we can display the alerts database. And that completes our entire second brain system. Feel free to adjust this according to your liking, and check out the template in the description below if you want to get straight into it.